Did you know that people speak more than 16,000 words a day on average? Yet, only about 30% of what we say is remembered. This means that what we don't say, or how we say it, is often more important than the words themselves. Dialogue is more than just putting sentences together. It's about making those sentences come alive, about making your audience feel like they're eavesdropping on a real conversation. But here's the shocking part: most writers struggle with this. According to a survey of over 1,000 writers, nearly 50% say that writing realistic dialogue is the hardest part of storytelling. It's not easy to capture the raw, unscripted nature of real conversations in your writing. But the good news is, you can learn how to do it every time. In this guide, we'll unlock the secrets to writing dialogue that feels real and engaging. You'll discover how to make your characters speak like real people, without sounding forced or stiff. We'll dive into strategies like eavesdropping for inspiration, cutting out fluff, and using silence to create tension. By the end, you'll have the tools you need to master the art of realistic dialogue and take your storytelling to the next level. Ready to make your dialogue unforgettable? Let's get started. Chapter 1: Eavesdrop to Elevate. Real-life inspiration. One of the best ways to write authentic dialogue is by observing real conversations. People talk in unique ways that reflect their personalities, emotions, and backgrounds. The more you listen, the more you can incorporate natural speech patterns into your writing. Try sitting in a cafe or walking through a park, listening to how people speak. You'll be surprised at how much you can pick up from just everyday exchanges. In fact, famous author J.K. Rowling admitted in interviews that she often listens to conversations around her to get ideas for her characters' voices. Real-life speech is often disjointed, with interruptions and incomplete thoughts, and that's okay. Embrace it. As you develop your characters, make sure they sound like real people. Use common fillers like or like to make characters feel more grounded. The beauty of eavesdropping is that it provides endless material without having to create anything from scratch. You can even use digital tools like otter.ai to transcribe spoken conversations and analyze speech patterns. By drawing from reality, your dialogue will sound more authentic and relatable. Chapter 2: Cut the crap. Ditching unnecessary fluff. In real life, people don't always say everything they mean, and they rarely speak in complete sentences. Great dialogue reflects this by cutting out unnecessary fluff. In fact, studies show that 60% of communication is non-verbal, meaning much of what's said is actually conveyed through body language, tone, and pauses. Think about a conversation you've had recently. How many times did you avoid saying something directly? How often did your words get interrupted? If you were to recreate that conversation in your writing, how could you trim the fat to make it feel real? The goal isn't to make dialogue artificially short, but to focus on what really matters. Each word should have a purpose, whether it's conveying a character's personality, revealing information, or creating conflict. Writers like Ernest Hemingway mastered this. His dialogue often conveys tension and emotion without a single wasted word. So, as you write, cut out anything that doesn't serve the story or character development. Chapter 3: Voice clashes. Making each character speak differently. No two people speak the same way. So, why should your characters? If everyone sounds the same, your dialogue will feel flat and lifeless. A great technique is to give each character their own unique voice. This doesn't mean they have to speak in complicated ways, it's about subtle differences. A shy character might use shorter sentences, while an outgoing one might speak in longer, more enthusiastic bursts. Look at your favorite TV shows and pay attention to how different characters talk. Walter White from Breaking Bad speaks with a deliberate, measured tone, while Jesse Pinkman uses slang and quick, disjointed phrases. The distinction is clear, and it helps you instantly recognize who's speaking. You can develop these voices by considering their background, education, and personality. A scientist might use precise, technical language, while a street artist might use slang and have a laid-back style. When you pay attention to these nuances, you create rich, distinctive characters. If you're enjoying these tips, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. You won't want to miss the next chapter, where we dive into the power of silence in dialogue. Chapter 4: Say it like you mean it. using silence and pauses. Sometimes, what's left unsaid speaks louder than words. Real conversations aren't always filled with constant chatter. There are silences, awkward pauses, and unfinished thoughts. These moments are powerful in storytelling. In fact, many iconic scenes in films are memorable not because of what's said, but because of the pauses in between. Silence adds tension and depth. Think about the famous scene from The Godfather where Michael Corleone delivers his line, "Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in." The pause before that line makes it hit harder. Silence in dialogue allows the reader or viewer to interpret the unsaid, adding layers of complexity. You can use pauses to highlight a character's hesitation or internal conflict. It also gives the reader time to absorb the emotional weight of the conversation. A well-timed pause can turn an ordinary conversation into something profound. Chapter 5: The Stumble Trick. Making dialogue feel natural. In real life, we don't always speak perfectly. We stumble over words, repeat ourselves, or get sidetracked. This natural imperfection makes speech feel real. Think about how many times you've said or in a conversation. This is something you should bring into your dialogue. Characters should sound human, and part of that means they don't always have the perfect thing to say. A character might start a sentence, pause to find the right words, and then continue. For example, I don't know what to do, or it's just hard to explain. This stumbling effect can make dialogue feel more grounded. It also helps convey vulnerability or uncertainty, adding emotional depth to your characters. Another trick is to include moments where characters interrupt each other or lose their train of thought. These interruptions show the rhythm of real conversations and help build dynamic interactions. Incorporating these flaws can elevate your dialogue by making it feel more organic and true to life. Chapter 6: Show Don't Tell. Let dialogue reveal, not explain. Good dialogue doesn't explicitly explain everything, it shows through subtext. Instead of saying, "I'm really angry," a character might slam a door or speak through gritted teeth. Showing emotion through action and implication makes the dialogue feel more layered. In fact, some of the best dialogue in literature and film relies heavily on subtext. Take The Great Gatsby, where characters often say one thing while meaning something entirely different. Nick Carraway's internal commentary reveals far more than the character's spoken words ever could. This is especially important for creating tension. When characters avoid saying things directly, it leaves room for the reader or audience to pick up on clues. It's also a great way to reveal deeper motivations. If a character is lying or hiding something, their dialogue might come across as overly cautious or evasive. Let the character's words do the heavy lifting, while the reader reads between the lines. This technique keeps the dialogue engaging and layered with meaning. Make sure you're subscribed to stay tuned for even more storytelling tips in the next video.